Powers of 10. So here we're going to be kind of building on a strategy that we began talking about in 4th grade. And now you're going to see how this is all related to the place value chart. And we focus on this a little more in 5th grade. So let's go back and look at those powers of 10 from 4th grade. Well, you may remember watching a video about multiplying by 1, 10, 100, 1,000. So let's look at that again real quick. So let's say I have 4 times 1, and I know that that equals 4. Well, let's change that 1 in our multiplication problem. So we're still going to keep our 4 and say 4 times 10. And as we go through to solve this, a lot of us know 10 times 4 is 40. But if you kind of break it down and look at it, we start out, we've got that original equation from up above. 4 times 1. So we're going to keep that 4. But then we also have 0, because we weren't just multiplying by 1, we were multiplying by 10. So we're going to, and 10 has 1 0, so we're going to put that 0 after the 4. So our answer becomes 40. Now if we go back, we're going to change, keep the 4, but this time we're going to multiply by 100. So again, we're keeping the 4 times the 1. It's going to give us the 4. This time, though, we have 2 zeros in 100, so we're simply going to place those zeros at the end. 400. So here's where you're kind of seeing that multiplication of a digit times 1 times 10 times 100. That pattern keeps going. As you add zeros to your 1, you're going to add zeros to your final answer. Now let's go over, and now we're going to bump it up from 4th grade to 5th grade. So we're going to look at powers of 10 on the place value chart. So here, we're going to kind of look at how we move through the place value chart. Now we're going to start at the ones place. And I'm going to use that example of 4. And I'm going to put my 4 into the place value chart. So I just have 4. Now, as I move through the place value chart, so when I move from the ones place to the tens place, I'm multiplying by 10. So if I take that 4 and I multiply it by 10, now I have 40. And you can see where, let's do this, you can see where that 0 came into play when I multiplied by 10. And my 4 moved 1 place value, or 10 times, it became 10 times greater than what it was in the ones place. Now, let's do that again, but this time we're going from the tens place, to the hundreds place. Now again, if I'm going just from the tens place to the hundreds place, I've moved 1 place value, which is, again, times 10. So this time, I'm multiplying 40 times 10. So again, you can use the same strategy. 1 times 40 equals 40, but you also have that 0, so we're going to have another 0. So 40 times 10 equals 400. And if you put it in the place value chart, here. Now you had multiplied once, because you went from the ones to the tens, and then you multiplied again by 10 to get 400. You can also remember that 10 times 10 equals 100, because you have 10 times 1, which is 10, but then you also have that extra 0, which makes it 100. Also notice how many zeros are in 100. Let's look at that a little more closely. So I have 1, 2 zeros in 100. Well, look at how many jumps I made to go from the ones place to the tens place. 1, 2. So basically, every time you move through the place value chart, you're moving times 10, which is a power of 10. What we're really wanting to look at is the patterns in our zeros and the patterns in our jumps, because that's going to help us out quite a bit as we start to work with these place values and comparing place values within a number. So again, if I went from the hundreds place to the thousands place, again, I'm multiplying by 10. I'm going to change that here to yellow. So now if I take my 4 and I'm moving it from the ones place to the thousands place, and I have 1, 2, 3 zeros. I move through the place value chart 3 times now. And you can see we did 1, 2, 3 zeros. So I could say either use this number here. So the 400, so I could say 400 times, let me erase some of this so it doesn't get too confusing for you. So 400, and I went from the hundreds place to the thousands place, which was just the 10 times. So 400 times 10. So I'm going to say 400 times 1 is 400. But then I have the 0. So that becomes 4,000. And that's what happened when I moved from the hundreds to the thousands. Or I could even say what if I go back and I use this 4 from the ones place? 4 times how many jumps did I make through the place value chart to go from ones to thousands? 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go, not times 1, but times 1,000. Which has 1, 2, 3 zeros in it. And that will give you 4,000. So what we've done is looked at powers of 10 in the place value chart.